Good afternoon. So it's a pleasure to have opportunity to present quarterly results. This quarter was not an ordinary for us, so I expect some questions in the end of the presentation. But to start with the topic, I would like to remind a little bit about the company, to go through the highlights that happened during the last quarter, definitely to focus on financial results and investment overview. Together with me today, we have also CFO of Klaipedos nafta, Jonas Lenkšas. So in case of some specific questions, I will forward the microphone to him to answer it. So Klaipedos nafta is in general the company involved in oil and LNG transshipments. Our vision is a reliable operator of oil and LNG terminals, and we are operating 4 terminals in Lithuania. 2 of them are LNG, based in Klaipėda, the floating LNG terminal, as well as a small-scale LNG reloading station, and 2 oil terminals, Klaipėda oil terminal and Subačius storage terminal. So what happened as key events during the quarter? It's maybe the first message is about the acquisition of LNG storage vessel after 2024. This decision is very important for the company, and there was support from Lithuanian state governance to go with FSRU acquisition after 2024. What does it mean for our customers? That's a strong message that infrastructure will be in place and available definitely longer than 2024. And now most of the preparatory works have been started together with the policy makers to assure that this infrastructure model will be applicable and valid as well after 2024. Second important item that in audit committee members were appointed in the end of August. It's Laura Garpenčiūtė-Bakienė and Andrius Varanavičius, and this definitely will strengthen the governance of the company and internal control processes. There were a lot of discussions on environmental issues, especially in Klaipėda city, and our terminal has some impact. Mainly impact comes with the smell, which is linked with transshipments of oil products, and Klaipedos nafta had approved environmental measures to reduce the impact. The total amount of investment will reach close to 5 million euros over the coming 3 years, and this will significantly reduce environmental impact in Klaipėda city. So this plan was presented to local communities and was quite well and positively accepted. As well, an important item for most of investors of Klaipedos nafta is the decision to pay out part of annual bonus in shares of in the form of shares of Klaipedos nafta. This decision has been approved in the management board and as well supervisory board. So now the last step is remaining the approval in shareholders meeting, and we expect to pay out 50% of annual bonus already next year for our employees in the form of the shares. And all the rules of how we will acquire shares, they are described in in the documents which are available in internet as well as in Nasdaq site. In terms of publicity, our goal is definitely global LNG project developments. Most of the efforts were linked with our activities related with global LNG. And the main event was Gastech in Barcelona, where Klaipedos nafta was well represented, as well included into key speaking guests. As well, we received quite a lot of attention regards Klaipedos FSRU terminal future from a lot of European media, not only local ones. Klaipedos nafta is a responsible employer, and definitely we pay a lot of attention to organizational culture. For some investors, maybe this might seem a bit less important, but I believe to assure sustainable activities of the company, it's critical to assure that organizational culture meets strategic plans and that people are engaged in company's activities and remain motivated. Now, reaching probably the most interesting part, financial results. And if we talk about 9 months, then the total revenues of Klaipedos nafta reached 75.8 million euros. That's slightly less than last year or even 2016. It had an impact on EBITDA, which as well is a little bit smaller, and 9-month result is 22.4 million euros. Net profit of the company is 11.4 million. And if we compare quarter on quarter, then during the third quarter, net profit was 1.2 million euros and EBITDA 5.2. The main reason for decrease in revenues is related with oil transshipment activities. We faced, I would rather say, some coincidence in a way that some of our customers, they had transshipped the majority of sorry, here is transshipment volumes. Most of their commitments during the first half of the year, and naturally they were looking for different other alternatives in the market, and it explains why we had very good first half of the year, but comparably much worse the third quarter. The second reason is related to the situation in Belarus. Typically, there are negotiations on annual basis between Russia and Belarus on the amount of crude oil provided for the Belarus for refineries. And this process took this year a little bit longer. So the companies, Belneftekhim, they could not sign a long-term agreement till even mid of October. And actually, most of the products from Belarus, they come based on long-term agreements. Spot cargoes usually are going through other ports in the Baltics. So that was the reason why we had less products from less transit products during the quarter. And as well, we faced a situation that there was higher demand for Orlen refinery products in local region, which reduced the need for transshipments over the sea. Is it a trend or one-time effect? My understanding is that it's a rather one-time effect. We already see recovering volumes of transshipments coming from Belarus. And I have as well got signals from Orlen Lietuva that they will need quite similar. They will still keep quite similar demand on our infrastructure for the last quarter as well as for the next year compared to typical volumes. So we'll see if that happens in the fourth quarter, but the company definitely expects to see more transshipments compared to the third quarter. I'd like to go a little bit back to results by the segment. So in terms of EBITDA, then the major contributor is oil terminal, and it also explains why the fluctuations in transshipments of oil products have such a big impact on our final P&L result. So EBITDA, 9-month EBITDA from oil terminal is close to 14 million euros. LNG terminal contributed 8.4 million euros. Subačius result is very stable. Its quarterly contribution stands at around 400,000 euros per quarter. And LNG related activities, we are investing into development, and the overall investment amount during the last 9 months was 1,200,000 euros. If you look at the key ratios, besides the profit and EBITDA, our gross margin is still a little bit above 20%, and EBITDA margin is around 30%. Return on equity during this year stands at approximately 8.2%. In terms of balance sheet, both assets and equity and liabilities reduced by almost 3%. And you can see the main difference is in assets, but I would ask our finance manager to explain a little bit more details after the presentation, but in fact it's just changing some asset classes, but no any major differences in the structure of assets in fact. LNG terminal had made a little bit less or significantly less regasification during this year compared with 2017. The demand for LNG was a little bit lower due to situation in LNG market. Global LNG market shows price increases during the summertime, mainly based on demand coming from China. And this impact had some reasons for our customers to use it less. The other reason was that Achema was closed for a couple of months. The factory is now open again and also has started using LNG terminal back again. LNG reloading station is finally completed in terms of construction. The object is taken fully into our balance sheet, and definitely it gives the impact in terms of depreciation. So if you investigate into more details the results, you would easily notice the difference in increased depreciation. So that's actually the impact of LNG reloading station. So we are very happy to finalize this project constructions. Ongoing construction enabled us to do still reloading operations already for a year, but that's some kind of an important milestone for us. Looking at forecast for this year, we expect that overall oil transshipment volume could reach 6.7 million tons, and yearly revenues should stand at around 100 million euros. Predicted EBITDA is 27 million euros, and net profit is around 12 million euros. If you look at investments, we are having ongoing investments into our oil terminal, where we built additional capacity for storage of products, as well as capabilities that will enable us to accept petrochemical products. And most of investment now goes to oil terminal. And the construction is going according to the plan, and as well in line within the budget. So construction of those big tanks is expected to be completed by mid of next year, which will enable us to increase storage capacity and to serve more customer needs and demand, to accumulate higher amounts of the product in our terminal, which is a trend nowadays to accumulate more and to use bigger tankers compared to the situation which was 5 years ago. I guess these were the top messages that I wanted to highlight regards the third quarter, and I'm ready to enter the question stage.
Good afternoon, it's Jonas Lenkšas. It's nice to be with you here today. And first of all, I want to mention that this reserve was formed in 2012. And of course, it's quite difficult to comment on decision then. But what I want to mention now that today we are analyzing the opportunities that would give such instrument for the company today. So this would be our comment. And also, as Mr. Jusius mentioned, I will comment on the change in assets. So today we see a big change in cash and cash equivalents. This is because of 65 million euros which we had in short-term deposit, and because of unfavorable conditions for such instrument. For the moment, we are keeping it in cash and also analyzing further possibilities and opportunities.
I'll try to answer this question. So definitely, if we look at the total numbers of transshipments, it accumulates the volumes from all our customers. And in April, we have signed agreement with a new customer. This agreement is in force. I can't comment on very details due to the commercial secrets, but the drop in transshipments during the third quarter, maybe I will repeat myself, but because this is important, were mainly due to significantly decreased volumes from Belarus and to slightly decreased volumes of Orlen Lietuva, who had higher demand in the region for their products and less demand for transshipments over the sea. In terms of expectations for the year, as we explained, we expect the total volume to reach 6.7 million tons by the end of the year. Yeah, the structure of the owners of Klaipedos nafta is such that Achema Group controls more than 10% of total shares. So that's our shareholder, the second largest shareholder. At the same time, Achema Group is involved in oil transshipment business as well. And we are competing with the terminal, with the which is as well in Klaipedos city, Krovinių terminalas. Klaipedos nafta does not have any plans of merging with the company mentioned. It's our competitor at some extent, and I have not heard about any plans of merging or anyhow establishing more closer partnership. Yeah, we serve a region and we are capable to serve all customers who are interested to transship their products through the Baltic Sea. And Russia is the market which is in our interest, but we don't have a specially dedicated person in that region. We have a sales team which is based in Klaipėda, but serves the region, including the Russia as well.
The main reason for this is that this is an effect coming from our investment made through depreciation expenses, which we are starting to account this year. So this is the main explanation.
Belarusian refiners, actually we have an agreement which is in force with the Belarusian refineries as well for 2019. So we didn't have a need actually for signing a new agreement. But what we had negotiated expected volumes and commitments from Belarusian refineries, which are at the same level as this year. So we are talking at amounts of approximately between 1 and 1.5 million tons per year. LNG as a marine fuel is really a good alternative because that's the cleanest fossil fuel and definitely will play a big role as a transitional fuel in marine transport. When it comes to Baltic Sea, we see a trend of updating or renewing the marine inventory or building new vessels that have LNG as a main fuel. So in terms of new builds, we see that more than half of new builds are being chosen with LNG fuel. In terms of upgrading existing ships is very expensive and that's unlikely that they will transform into LNG. But what we see that, for example, one ferry operating between Helsinki and Tallinn really contributes quite a lot. It's 10 times more than average city of Lithuania over the year. And this same company also ordered the second ferry. Scandinavian ferry companies also ordering new ferries that will be driven on LNG. We see first container ship vessels which are running on LNG arriving to Klaipedos port already next year. So I believe that after 2-3 years, we definitely see much bigger demand and opportunities for bunkering market. We have such process of capacity booking a month in advance of the period, and we see that those products which were significantly decreased during the third quarter are already coming to Klaipėda this month. So I would expect the volumes to recover during coming couple of months. If I may, to joke a little bit, then definitely if we have good news, we would like to make your day, and we announced this in the early morning. If the news are bad, rather not to disturb you. But I'm really joking regards this question. If I can assure you that the company is always following the conduct and make announcements during those moments when the market is closed, not to affect any trading. And sometimes it happens that this time is in the early morning before opening hours or late evening, but this definitely has no differentiation between good or bad news. And we do our best to make announcements as early as possible, understanding the interest of all interested parties.
I apologize a little bit as I misunderstood the question. So regarding EBITDA, the main reason is on one part increasing energy prices, like average price for gas and average price for electricity, which has impact on our gross margin. And another issue is that we are having and planning to have a higher cost for FSRU, as we have expense denominated in US dollar, and we are making payments in euro. We have euro and have to buy dollars to make payment in dollars. So this is having also quite sensitive impact on our cost, which influence our EBITDA. But also it's worth mentioning that this cost is compensated and will be included in next period. It is next year cost revenue.
At all the questions so far. We're still waiting for more questions to come in. If you haven't sent them yet, please do so now. So it looks like there are no more questions. On behalf of Nasdaq Vilnius, thank you everyone. It was a pleasure being with you at traditional webinar session. A record of the presentation will be available in Nasdaq Baltic YouTube channel webinar playlist. Mr. Jusius, thank you for your time. Mr. Lenkšas, thank you joining us today. Participants, thank you for joining and hope to see you next time.